interested in who governs them at that level of governance. So I believe that the voters, the electorate, should be more, if not double or triple, those that came out during the presidential election, because the closer it is to the people, the more the interest should be. But what do we have during the gubernatorial and state of assembly election? Voter apathy. And why? Most likely because of what INEC did the last time by not sticking to the guidelines of uploading the result real time. Before this whole election started, people were so much interested in the process. You can see the youth, the way they are kind of like enthusiastic about the election. Everybody was so much interested in it. But immediately, INEC changed the rule of the game at the middle of the game. People seem to kind of like lost interest. Like, okay, maybe there's like an intentional sabotage of the system. If the result during the presidential election were not successfully uploaded in like maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 states, it's understandable. But when you say across the country and you promise electronic transmission, then you suddenly begin to go manual in a system whereby the electoral process suffers lack of credibility, lack of transparency, and people are now trying to kind of like hold you to account based on the introduction of technology. Then you now change the rule of the game. That manifested in the political apathy. Another thing that may have brought about that political apathy is maybe during the presidential election, Nigerians having been used to vote buying might thought, okay, maybe the politicians may be able to come with one, monetary or commodity or the other to kind of like sway their vote. But based on the Naira redesign policy, the politicians on the day were not able to offer, anything at all, or maybe less to nothing. So people that have seen election as a process of enriching themselves based on vast poverty that we have, went back home disappointed. So if they are doing it for the sake of the monetary aspect of what you gain, I haven't seen that during the presidential election they weren't able to gain much. Of course, during the gubernatorial, they will be disinterested because their interest, which is financial gain in this case, was not met.
Wow. Now, speaking about vote buying, it does seem like from reports from Saturday's election, there were more cases of vote buying. In fact, all across the country, politicians and their cronies were seen handing over financial incentives to people to vote or for voting. Let's also link this to the Naira redesign policy. Now, at the time, on the 25th of February, there were very few incidents of vote buying. But at this recent election, it does seem like this was a problem that came up in massive numbers and people were doing it in open view of others. I'm curious, do you think that the ruling from the Supreme Court may have in some way enhanced this vote buying?
Well, the ruling from the Supreme Court kind of like helped the politicians, because I don't believe for us that the politicians were doing this because of the citizenry. The Naira redesign has its negative effect on the economy, on citizens' lifestyle. That is understandable because we've seen people's commodity at the market rot away. We've seen people that they don't even have bank account, and the little amount that they made daily is what they survive on. People are affected, truly. But the major purpose of the Naira redesign, which is to curb electoral malpractice, corruption in our electoral system, was almost being defeated by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. I would have thought that maybe the Supreme Court would have said, okay, let the spending of the old Naira note continue, let's say from today. In other words, the election have passed, because that itself will help the Supreme Court and the judicial system, because there might be a reduction in the amount of cases that will eventually get to the court when the process is transparent. So the Naira redesign, there's a political dimension to it, and that's why you see that governors that did not protest during national strike, governors that did not protest for the right of the citizen during police brutality protests, suddenly go out, suddenly making appearances at the Supreme Court. Why? Because their source of interest is being threatened. This is they are so much interested in the political system to either regain or retain or grab power as the case may be. So when a man's interest is threatened, he go all out to kind of like express himself. Even a deaf and dumb person, if his interest is threatened, he will still try to kind of like express himself one way or the other, that that, oh, this man really means business at this point in time. So as good as the judgment of the Supreme Court is, I think there is a political side to it, which I think the justices of the Supreme Court should have at least walk along with the executive to make sure that at least we have a transparent political process devoid of monetary, because the role money play in our politics, money is like a god with a small letter G. It is worshipped, and politicians haven't failed. You see that, for example, in Lagos State now, politicians haven't failed to be able to use money to influence the voters, have now devised a new strategy, which is to increase the tempo of violence. So politicians in this case are like students. When INEC try to curb one form of electoral malpractice or the other, politicians develop like 10 almost immediately, which is synonymous to student. Immediately you are trying to curb one form of malpractice, students are very innovative. Before curbing one, they're already coming up with 10. And that's what we see, that politicians could be so fast, could be so innovative to kind of like, increase the tempo of the ethnic card, increase the tempo of the of violence, just so that they can have their way. Now that they cannot use money to kind of like, sway your vote, now they bring the violence right to your doorstep. And that itself, it's killing the political system. That is not democracy in the true sense of the word, and that should not be tolerated if we truly want a country, because you must have a country before you become a president, before you become a governor, before you become a senator, or whatever your ambition is.
All right, well, let us know what your thoughts are. Our special guest is Dr. Omoshola Deji. He's a political scientist, and we're talking about the gubernatorial elections from Saturday. The WhatsApp number you can send your messages to is 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at smooth981 and give us a call as well. The phone number to call is 01 and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can catch the live stream, just search for Smooth 981 on YouTube, and you can also post a comment on there. Now, coming to INEC's performance, there was a lot of criticism in certain areas, most notably the uploading of the election results to IREF in real time. How would you assess INEC's performance from Saturday compared to what was experienced on the 25th during the presidential elections?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned real time. INEC performance improved because we see uploading of results to the IRF portal, but I believe that mediocrity should not be tolerated. We want, if we don't have a state of perfection, we want a near state of perfection. We shouldn't say that, okay, let's just accept it as the way it is, because I was in a studio as at past 10 on election day in the evening, and they said about 50 points, so I think maybe 50.5% have been uploaded. Now, by my statistics, voting would have ended, and the transparency comes in when we all voted. You count the result right in our presence, and after counting it, after signing, you upload the result real time. That's the essence of the word real time. Within a specific time frame, if election is ending by 2, you were able to upload the result as at when the results were counted. So if election had ended in the afternoon and voting had been counted, why is it that as at 10 p.m., 50 point something, only 50 point something has been uploaded? That I can't, I can no longer call that real time in the true sense of the word, because what is causing the delay? Why the delay? So, and what happens to the 40 something percent remaining? And we now need to look at it. Which area is that? Is it the area whereby is it the stronghold of the opposition? Is it like, what is responsible for you not uploading? What is happening at those polling units? So if you want to do something, I think the best thing is to do it well and do it right. So if you are going to upload, let it be real time so that the transparency of the process can be improved. I want to see a democratic system in such a way that by that past 10, Even virtually the citizens would have sit down with their calculator, pen and paper, and they already know who the governor is. And during the Ekiti and Osun off-cycle election, you could see that people went to the INEC portal and they were able to already know who the governor is. So it's not just about uploading it, it's about uploading it real time. So we commend INEC for uploading the result, but they can do much better by uploading it real time.
All right, let's take a break and we'll continue the conversation on the other side. This is Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us.
What does future forward banking mean to you? Speed, innovation, convenience, lifestyle growth, or just simply getting service that's designed just for you? Yeah, we thought you might like all of that and more. That is why we specially created Providus Bank for you to take care of your daily experiences at Providus Bank. We believe that banking should be all about you and your business and how to get you to the next level. If you do not already have a Providus Bank account, please speak with our business concierge on 0700 77 684 387 or email businessconcierge@providusbank.com to switch to a future forward banking experience. Providus Bank. Future forward banking.
The sporting world never loses its action because the game never changes. Only the players. While the rules define the moment. When the game stands tall, we bring you every piece of it, following its every move. From the field to the race car, the course to the ring. It's all about your favorite sport and the goal. That's tune into the locker room and follow up on every sporting action and analysis.
The Locker Room, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m.
Providus Bank. Future forward banking.
This is Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1, and we love to get your comments and your thoughts as well. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. The telephone number to call is 0144489981. We're also streaming live on YouTube, and you can catch the live stream. Just search for Smooth 981 and post a comment on there as well. We're talking about the elections from Saturday, the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly election. And our special guest is Dr. Omoshola Deji. Dr. Deji is a political scientist. Thank you so much, Dr. Deji, for coming through. Now, the hope of most Nigerians is to have free, fair, credible, and transparent elections all across, whether it's presidential or it's at the state levels as well. What would it take to actually get that?
Well, what it takes to have a free and fair election, it's action on the part of the citizenry, then different agencies of government. Because INEC is called Independent National Electoral Commission. But if you look at it, is INEC truly independent in the true sense of the word? Because if INEC is ready to conduct an election and the police is not ready, can INEC really go ahead? That puts a question mark to the independence of INEC. And if INEC is ready to conduct an election and there are logistics issue, so is INEC truly independent? So the police are a major stakeholder, and now we are having involvement of the military, because when I drove out on Saturday from one station to another, I saw the military, manning some checkpoints and all that. I thought that the military really has no business in election in the electoral process at all, because I saw a footage in River State whereby the military showing no sense of understanding of the electoral process was harassing a media personnel, and the media personnel was saying, I'm pressed, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. The military guy, maybe it's part of the military that they were recruited through the quota system. I don't understand because it is simple something. I am pressed. During the election, the press making coverage is this normal thing. It is their constitutional right. But when somebody says I am pressed and you still go ahead to smash the camera, then it questions maybe, okay, even if you are not to participate in election, when you are being deployed, were you not given any kind of training or orientation at all? Then while I was driving, as I was about to enter Town Mainland Beach, the police checkpoint there, a guy was going to his polling unit. So I think he was on call with maybe his friends. He's walking alone. He doesn't have anything that looks like a thread on him, maybe like a bottle or a machete or something. The army guy, who to me is power drunk, called him and said, "Oh, you the pass, you the make Kwabi, go and drop your phone there." And I'm like, when does it become a crime that you are passing by on election day and you are making a call? It's like, is it in the constitution that, okay, you cannot walk to go and vote, or while walking to the polling unit you cannot make call? So those are the kind of things that you begin to question the INEC sister agencies, because if you look at the conduct of the police in Saturday's election is so appalling. In Agop Palace Way, there were live reports in the studio that some thugs came to disrupt the process. The people were able to resist them. Now, the police now came, they said they want to go with the INEC style. And people at Agop Palace Way were telling them that, okay, please, we want to vote. Let us vote. They insisted on voting, but the police were saying no. And I begin to question the action of the police, because as a policeman, you are to uphold law and order. On Saturday, what is the law and order across the country? The law and order is that citizens have the right to vote and be voted for. So as a police officer or any law enforcement agent, what you should be doing is anything that will make citizens to be able to cast their vote. So rather than protect the environment, rather than cooperate with the people who are willing to cast their vote, the police are saying no, that they have to go, and the people have to resist them peacefully. So the conduct of the police itself, even if INEC wants to be successful, puts a question mark to the process. Now, look at on Saturday, whereby talks in Lagos State, talks had a field day. The sovereignty of the state, the right of the state to tame and unleash violence was literally left in the hands of talk, charlatans, street urchins, to kind of like have a field day, when there are institutions of state that have to check those things. At Fadeyi, talks came out with this megaphone saying, if you don't vote for a particular party, don't come out. And these people right now, they are still existing. Nothing had happened to them. You see it across the state, which seems like an intentional sabotage of the process to make sure that citizens, most especially a section of the country living in this state, were being disenfranchised. And that shouldn't have been the case, whereby we are operating a system whereby being a good citizen, a responsible citizen, makes you look stupid. You begin to appear like a stupid one, because if you're a responsible citizen and you can't vote, and talks can begin to carry gun and have a field day, then you begin to question yourself as, why are you a responsible citizen? If you go to school and you graduate and you don't have a job, but talks are in charge, are mingling, are buying houses, are building hotels, then you begin to question your parents' investment, that why did they even send me to school in the first place? So
I just want to ask, coming back to this, the election conversation across the country, there were these incidents where people were actually terrified. Some were chased out, like you've pointed out. Some were actually too terrified to actually leave their homes. And I'm curious about this with regards to voter suppression and the intimidation that happened across the country. Um, did we notice an increase in this from the gubernatorial elections compared to the presidential?
the one of the gubernatorial election in some states were expected. And I believe that's the work of the security agents, to have mapped out their intelligence. For example, I'll use the example of Lagos State and Kano State and Rivers State. Now, in Lagos State, before the election, We have monarchs that intentionally had gone political, saying that they want to do this traditional right, which everybody know is not supposed to be. If there should be an election in the state and you are coming out with your own program, that means you are challenging the authority of the state. And that's when nobody said anything. We have the chairman of motor parks and garage, Omoshola or something, making inflammatory statement, making statement that could eat up the polity and lead to loss of lives and property. I've thought that by that statement, it would, at least if the security agencies are to be kind, placed under strict house arrest. But nothing had happened. And what do we have? After the results were denied, were announced, he just up on social media and just make another inflammatory statement.
Now,
So
speaking about inflammatory statements, we also have to take into consideration that these inflammatory statements have been made across board. It's something that unfortunately has become part of normal living in Nigeria, whether it's on social media or in reality. How do we get to a point in politics where these biases wouldn't come into place, where someone's ethnicity wouldn't matter, or perhaps their gender, even their religion? Can we actually get to a point where those things won't make a difference?
well, we can get to that point if the leadership recruitment process is right, in the sense that, and the family system too. While you were growing up, what were you being taught? For example, um, um, saying that history should not be taught in our school, it's a major problem, because how would people know their history and know how to avoid a repetition of something that caused great harm to the society at that point in time? The relevance of history cannot be underestimated. For example, now, if I can use the example of the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate, now, Gbadebo Rhodes Vival. If you don't study history in school, you may think Rhodes Vival is an Igbo name. So when they say, oh, this person is an Igbo candidate, they want to come and take our state, you just buy into it out of illiteracy. But if the educational system is right, you would have been able to trace Rhodes Vival down to the slave era,
But do
whereby
people need
when
education to know that a person's ethnicity or their religion doesn't matter? There are some people who don't have a formal education in the sense that we describe it, but they're very accepting of people and open to people from different parts of not just the country, but even the world.
and the thing is, education plays a key role in the sense that it brightens your knowledge. You, because you are educated, what they will sell to you and won't fly. If they sell it to an illiterate on the street, it will just quickly act on it. But you have the mental capacity, the mental alertness to process information, to filter information, and take logical decisions. If your educational quotient is not that high, you may not have that capacity to process the information. Then you are easy to kind of like push around. So that is the essence of education. For example, I have been advocating that at the tertiary institution, the university system, the university, the polytechnic, the college of education, a particular course that's usually called Introduction to Politics or Introduction to Political Science should be made a university course, not a borrowed course, not an elective, a university course, just like the GNS, the general studies in our university, so that when you enter any tertiary institution in Nigeria, you are able to learn about the essence of political participation, voting, election process, these basics. When you are able to learn about it, then you'll be able to go back home to transmit that knowledge to your parents, to your brother, to your sister, to your spouse. That would increase political education and increase how people participate in the process. Because if people know the importance of politics and leadership in a democratic system, they won't leave their destiny into the hands of some of these people with questionable character. Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, if somebody of questionable character gets into office, even if you are a professor, even if you are a doctor or a lawyer, that person will take decisions that will affect your life. When COVID came, government made an order that, okay, all churches should close. Churches were closed down. That is the power of the state, the power of government. So people that are going to be using such power, you must be interested in the recruitment process itself. So even if thugs are said, oh, we'll beat you, you don't vote, when you think about the importance of power and how this will affect your life, all of you will troop out the mass and say, okay, kill all of us, we want to vote. Because why? You are politically educated. You know the importance of this, of participating in this process. So that is the essence of political education. When we have increased education and we begin to have good institutions, then things will begin to go the right way. When you know that no matter who you are, no matter what you believe in, you cannot cheat the system, definitely things will begin to go the right way. And another point is that when there are consequences for action, no matter who you are, if you make an inflammatory statement, you go down. For example, Donald Trump in the United States is still answering question for his role in the last election, whereby he allegedly incited the
storming
public.
of the
So,
Capitol.
and he himself has said he is expecting to be arrested. Why? It is a system that works. If it were to be in Nigeria, if you do that to, for example, to like former President Jonathan, by now the militant would have been threatening that they'll blow all the pipeline and all that. If you do that to Buhari, by now all the X-Men would have been threatening fire and brimstone and all that. So we have a system whereby
And that is
there's
not to say the president or the former presidents are in any way associated
Not at all.
with those groups. Go ahead, please.
So we have a system whereby there's no consequence for action, and that has bred the culture of impunity in the system. Then we need to also begin to reduce the premium we place on politics. When politics is not lucrative, then you begin to think that, okay, why do I have to kill? Why do I have to destroy? But our political system today, tell me what will discourage a politician from not using his house to go and collect one huge loan. Tell me what will discourage a politician from not killing, from not, investing in thuggery. So when we begin to look at the system holistically and begin to make, logical changes in the system, then we'll begin to get it right. Then we'll begin to get there. Then we'll begin to have a good system. And when we begin to have a good democratic process, it has impact on the development of our lives and community itself. Because when a politician knows that the only way for him to retain or regain power is through performance, they will perform. Look at the governor of
All right, we have to take a break. So we have to go on an ad break, but we'll continue the conversation on the other side. And being made aware that we're trying to sort out some issues that are ongoing with the telephone lines. But it's okay. While we're sorting that out, you can, of course, get in touch with us via WhatsApp. The number, again, 0809 440 981. Stay with us.
Future forward banking.
What did Believe say?
They're trying to do something
Oh,
downstairs.
from
My
there.
name is IBK Spaceship Boy. I inspire my world through music.
So didn't people calling for like
No, we didn't open the phone.
Oh, I guess that's why we didn't notice.
Someone sent a message.
What does future forward
It's not
So when
even
you call,
going.
what is it saying? It's just not saying anything.
innovation,
Let's wait for them to sort it out then.
lifestyle goals, or just simply getting service that is designed just for you? Yeah, we thought you might like all of that and more. That is why we specially created Providence Bank for you to take care of your daily experiences.
Demolade is
At
made for
Providence
Canada.
Bank, we
Sorry?
believe that
Demolade is
banking
made
should
for
be all
Canada.
about
Why?
you
Even you're
and your
wearing a
business.
jacket. She's
I
not
am.
wearing a jacket and she's just fine.
If you do not
Lucky
already have a
her.
Providence Bank account,
Oh, wow.
please speak with our
Don't
business
worry,
concierge
you're still new.
on
Give it a few
0700
weeks. You start bundling up.
387 or email businessconcierge@providencebank.com to switch to a future forward banking experience. Providence Bank. Future forward.
So we'll be back on in 50 seconds.
The smooth ride home. Right here on your dial. 98.1.
I love my radio. My radio is my all-day companion.
Infectious rhythm, making you move. It's all about your big songs.
The right kind of music. And of course,
It's all about your fresh news and information.
all the information I can get, all the news I can get. From the house to the car to meetings.
And it's all about the great ingredients you need for your journey home.
Lots of horrendous traffic stress.
The smooth drive home. Right here every weekday from 4 p.m.
They just want to listen all day long.
Love music, love life.
Okay. Smooth 98.1. This is Lagos Talks with Zibby here, and our special guest, Dr. Omoshola Deji. Dr. Omoshola Deji is a political scientist, and we're speaking about the gubernatorial elections from Saturday. Now, Dr. Deji, I want to ask this though. Why does politics seem very lucrative or attractive in this part of the world?
Well, politics is attractive in this part of the world because we live in a power-driven society. In our society, in our country, in our community, if you have power, you are like a mini god. You are like a god on earth. If if you have power, you can do and undo. You can get away with a lot of things. So that increase politicians' desperation to be in position of power. And you would see that despite the non-performance of some of these politicians, they are ready to do anything to remain in power. So why would somebody want to remain in power if they are not kind of like benefiting from the system? We have we live in a country whereby the process is corrupt across board. So we live in a country whereby you can get away with anything so long as you are connected, so long as you belong to a particular ruling cabal. But if it were to be in Senate climes whereby, okay, now imagine Joe Biden now slapping one of his aide or maid. The US media would have already calculated this sentence for him that, okay, and it will make headline. Joe Biden risk 5 years in jail after leaving office. Because you can't get away with anything. But in Nigeria, we've seen people kill, we've seen people destroy, we've seen people do a lot of things and they go away with it. We've seen people loot the treasury of this, of the state or any parastatal drive, and they go away with it. I think former accountant general of the federation that was alleged to have stolen 90-something billion are to be corrected. What is happening to him today? Okay, the story of Magu, what is happening today? So people now form an alliance to support themselves, to grab that political power, because they know that once you have that power, you have everything. You are like a god on earth. You can control everything. You can do and undo. So the political system is too rewarding. It's too lucrative. So what we have is strong men and not strong institutions like another climb. And that's why you see that people will continue to kill, will continue to destroy, because you know that once you get there, your life is made. You see somebody that cannot afford to eat 3 square meal. Maybe that person is lucky to get one small appointment, and within months the person is building big houses, the person is building hotels and so many other things. So, and you begin to wonder that, okay, what kind of job have you done?
Should politics actually be seen as a job in any way?
Politics should be a service, not as a job. Because right now, if you ask some people, what is your occupation? They say, I'm a politician.
Right.
And you begin to wonder, when does politics become an occupation? We've built a system whereby we have lifetime politicians that from state house of assembly to house of rep to senate, then maybe you become a governor, and instead of you to retire, you are lobbying for minister, or you return back to the senate, and you begin to wonder what kind of laws those people are going to pass. So the system itself, it's too lucrative. When it's too lucrative, the inspiration to grab it by every means, becomes high. And that is why you see the desperation itself. Because imagine, human being likes to be free. So if I can have political power and I can operate freely, I have immunity, even if I'm not a governor or president, that, okay, I know that it is the powers that I have the support of the powers that be. Tell me why I should look at you and just feel that, I don't like you. Tell me what will stop me from beating you up. Sorry to use that word. Because I know I can get away with anything. Human being naturally likes to be free. So it is a system that curtails that freeness to make sure that, okay, because you are seeing money, because you occupy a position whereby you control money, doesn't mean that, okay, you can just take that money because you deserve, you think you deserve a new car. It doesn't mean that you now see the state as your own personal property. So the system that we are operating is a system that encourages impunity across board, and that has encouraged people to go all out to win political power, because they know that once they have it, they are made. And not only them, their family is made. Not only their family, their unborn generation is made, and everything is just, smooth onion and milky for them. So tell me why they won't go all the way, to grab the political power.
All right. Unfortunately, we're still trying to rectify the problem with the regular phone line. But for the first time, you can actually call the WhatsApp number, right? So give us a ring on the WhatsApp number. It's 0809 440 981. That is the WhatsApp number. You can send your messages to that number, and you can also call us on that number as well. 0809 440 981. We're still trying to rectify the issue with the regular phone line. Dr. Deji, I want to ask this though. Should political or party allegiance trump competence? We've seen people who say, because I'm a member,
So say that again,
should party alliances trump competence? Because sometimes you see voters who say, you know what, because I'm from this party, I don't particularly know this candidate. I don't particularly align with these candidates' views, but he's from my party, so I'm going to support him.
Well, I don't think party alliance should trump competence if you want a good and better society. It should be based on the capacity of the candidate. And we've seen that in this election, whereby you see in Yobe State yesterday, a 35-year-old man was able to defeat the incumbent speaker, who is running to go for a sixth term. So I think the people of that constituency would have looked at competence, not party affiliation. So, and we've seen swing of vote. For example, in River State, APC won the presidential election, but PDP, won the gubernatorial election. By that, we can say the people did not vote based on party alliance, but based on their interest in the candidate. In Lagos State, though I have some reservation about the conduct and the result at large, but if what INEC has released officially is anything to go by, we can see that, okay, Labour Party took the state during the presidential, but now it's the All Progressive Congress. So
right.
It's a manifestation that it's not all about party alliances.
Okay, let's go on to take this phone call coming through via WhatsApp. Good morning. Okay, we're still trying to make sure that this is sorted. I'm trying to get to the WhatsApp number to get our phone calls going through, but the conversation continues here. And Dr. Deji, I also want to ask this question. And it has to do with vote buying. A lot of people have said, if people come to you to sell or to take money for your votes, take the money from them, but vote for your preferred candidates. What do you think of that phrase?
Well, if that is possible, I would say, okay, you can go with that, because at least it doesn't influence your conscience. But the truth is that's not possible. So what we should have is a system whereby vote buying will not even thrive at all, because what we have is the politicians are so smart, so that their agents would first of all make sure that they see who you voted for which is not supposed to be, which is against the guideline, because we operate an open secret system whereby your ballot paper is going to be given to you, but you're going to go and vote with people seeing you doing the exercise, so that they will know that you are given just one ballot paper and you cast your vote and go. So if we can't operate a total secret system, because people would argue that maybe somebody was given 10 ballot paper or maybe 15 ballot paper, but the open secret ballot system is what works for us as a country. But you see that politicians align with some of these policemen and security agencies, and they just look the other way, and you see that party agents will first of all confirm. We've had situation whereby it is even a policeman that is, sending signal to the party agent that, okay, this is who this person voted for.
This
so
is
it is
confirmed.
after casting that vote that they now give them, the whatever amount of stipend they want to give them, and that is wrong. So we should make sure that you don't even have the opportunity to kind of like engage in vote buying at all. And that is why I have advocated that during the election period, we should pass it into law that the amount that must be found on you, regardless of your status, must not be more than maybe 2,000 or 3,000 naira. Because on election day, what we have is that everything is shut down. So what are you doing with 50,000, 100,000, 1 million, 2 million on election day? Are you going to the shopping mall?
Okay.
So if any amount that is more than 2,000-3,000, which you can use to buy snacks at the polling unit, is found on you, the money should be confiscated and you should be tried. So if we put that in our law, we know that once we find an humongous amount on you on election day, we already know that you are going before a competent court of law to answer, for charges. I think that will help in kind of like reducing this vote buying. But if I can say to the listeners, politicians, if they offer you anything for your vote, it is no longer you performing your exercise. It has become a transaction.
Right.
Even if it is 1 naira that they offer you, that is not you are not conducting a political exercise again. You are conducting a political transaction. You have sold your vote, and such politicians, you cannot hold them accountable, because it is a political transaction at that point in time. So, but once you are not monetized, once you are not influenced by money, then you are able to kind of like, okay, have a say in governance itself. Then we can also hypothesize that the less a politician spend, maybe the less is going to try to steal, or because most of our politicians are political investors. When a politician has to find money, humongous amount of money, to get party ticket, when a politician has to spend humongous amount of money for political campaign, that same politician has to find money for vote buying. That same politician has to find money for election tribunal. That becomes overwhelming, and his first priority, if he by lucks grab that political power, is to recoup his investment.
Return on investment. So we're almost out of time, Dr. Deji, but I want to ask though, how can we generally improve the political systems in Nigeria so that Nigerians can actually be aware and have the outcomes that they hope for? Have a society where everyone is well represented and happy, if that's possible.
Well, we can have a near state of happiness, if not total happiness, because in other climes, we can say that their citizenry are kind of like more happy than ours, because there is infrastructure and other social amenities that makes life convenient for the citizenry itself. So what we can do is to increase our political participation. And when we increase our political participation and we participate in politics the right way, you see, there is a lot of hypocrisy in the system. when Obama of Kenyan origin became the president of United States, some of these politicians playing ethnic division congratulated him. They were happy. The Prime Minister of Britain now is of Indian origin, and some of these are politicians. If by any means Kemi Badenoch, who is aspiring to be Prime Minister as well in UK, if she by lucks succeed, you see some of these politicians playing ethnic politics. They would go and
But have we
congratulate her.
seen
So
these politicians actually say anything ethnically divisive? It's mostly some of their followers that engage in these things. Have you actually seen in this election cycle political any person running for political office come out and make divisive statements, whether along religious lines or ethnic lines?
okay, if they don't make it directly,
Hmm.
but they are making it indirectly, in the sense that if you have your aides who people believe that their action, inaction, reaction is to support your cause, your political cause, if they make such statement and you are supposed to act and you didn't act, then it is to believe that you are in support of what they are doing. For example, thank God I'm a Yoruba man, so I can say this. Those monarchs that went political by now should have either been suspended from that office or dethroned. But when they make such statement, and you that are supposed to uphold law and order in the society, the governor, kept quiet. So you may not have made such statement, but your action has, given approval to such a statement, because there has been no consequence for action. So when they make such statement and the security agencies have done nothing about it, definitely your action has given approval
Okay.
to such, to such anomaly. So you may not have made the statement, but when those statements are made by your subordinate or supporters, what action did you take to uphold the law, to make sure that we have an equitable society?
All right. I've got a message here, and this one is from Ibukun. Ibukun says we should turn to online voting with the use of blockchain tech and the use of NINs as verification. That way, the issue of voter suppression will be solved. Unfortunately, we were unable to take your phone calls, but this is being worked on and will be sorted out in a very short while. But we are at the end of Lagos Talks, and I want to say a special thank you to you for listening. A special thanks to you, my guest, Dr. Omoshola Deji, political scientist, who's been here with us all this time. And also to appeal to all Nigerians, regardless of the differences, our diversity. That should be our strength, by the way. We're all one, and most well meaning Nigerians will not allow themselves to be used as tools of division. So we're imploring that as you go about your day, please stay law abiding, embrace peace, and we hope for the great Nigeria that we know is possible because of the great Nigerians like you out there. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program this morning. I'm back tomorrow from 6 a.m. for the smooth breakfast. Strictly Soul will commence from 10 a.m. and at 1 o'clock it will be time for the Casbah. Smooth Drive starts at 4 p.m. and from 8 p.m. it will be time for the smooth sessions. Have a beautiful, beautiful day ahead.